specific areas to discuss in your email. Overall, the reading you'll have to do is around 90 words. Now we'll talk about the Write an Email task in the TOEFL writing section. And the task is pretty much what it sounds like. You'll be writing a short email in response to a possible real-life situation. This lesson will provide you with an overview of the task as well as some examples. We'll then briefly introduce a strategy, but cover that in more detail in upcoming lessons on organization, templates, inventing details, and more. So this is a short, practical writing task that asks you to respond to a real-life situation. It's based on a given scenario, either something from daily life or academics. It also gives you 3 specific areas to discuss in your email. Overall, the reading you'll have to do is around 90 words. For the entire task, you'll have 7 minutes to complete it, and it's important to note that there's only one writing task like this on the test. Ultimately, your job is to write a brief but complete response that includes all the details they ask for. Around 100 to 120 words is a great goal to strive for, but that's not a hard requirement. There are 4 big things your response is scored on. First, purposeful communication. Are your ideas appropriate for the scenario? Do you fully address everything in the instructions? Next up is having the appropriate tone. Can you match the situation that you're given? Depending on who you're writing to, you'll want your writing to either be formal, such as when you're addressing a professor, or semi-formal, when you're addressing a classmate. Language accuracy is also important. Are your sentences well formed? Do you show a good range of grammar and vocabulary? Are your ideas well connected, such as by using transition words? Lastly, mechanics do factor into your score. Your spelling and punctuation should be correct. Those small mistakes won't hurt you much. Overall, the big idea is to include all the required content and to write naturally. Next, let's take a look at how scoring works. This task is not something that you just pass or fail. Instead, your response is assessed and given a score from 0 to 5. There's a more detailed rubric that you can read in the link below this lesson, but here's a quick look at what you'll need to do to achieve a certain score. A 5 means your email is clear, complete, and well written, with only very minor errors. A 4 is still strong, just a few rough spots or small issues. A 3 might mean you left something out, or that grammar issues affected your clarity. An email scoring a 2 or 1 is much harder to understand. Maybe you misunderstood the task, or there are too many grammatical and word choice errors. Lastly, a 0 means you didn't write anything relevant, or didn't write in English at all. Your goal is to hit that 4 or 5 range by being clear, complete, and organized. Okay, so what does the actual task look like? Each email task starts with a short scenario, just a couple of sentences. For example, maybe a friend wants to borrow your notes because they were out sick, or maybe a professor has reached out to you because you didn't submit your final project. Then come 3 bullet points. These are the specific areas you'll want to address in your email. Usually, they'll ask you to explain the situation or your feelings, the why. There will also be some additional details to include. You can think of these as the what, and then some kind of action that needs to happen, that is, how the situation can move forward. Think of these as your built-in outline. They tell you what to write. The specifics change depending on the situation. Sometimes you're making a request, sometimes you're giving feedback, sometimes you're navigating a disagreement. But the structure is always the same. 3 bullet points that tell you what to write. You'll type your response into a box, and a word count is there to help you keep track. Now, let's look at an example situation that involves an event from daily life. You were invited to Lena's birthday dinner, but now you have to travel that weekend. You need to thank her, the why you're writing, explain that you can't attend, the what, the extra details, and talk about how to move on from here by suggesting another time to get together. So this is a friendly but polite situation, which means your tone should be semi-formal. Think of a friendly email, not a text message, but not overly formal either. A good response might begin with something like, "Hi Lena, happy early birthday. I understand how important this birthday dinner is to you, and I really do wish I could be there." And then you'd go on to explain the situation and suggest a new plan. Right, so How do you prepare for this kind of writing? Start by reading the scenario and instructions carefully. You already have the key points. They're in the bullets. Your job is to flesh those out with more details and elaboration. Your email will follow a basic structure. We'll cover this in more detail in later lessons, but you'll start with a greeting, have a couple sentences for each bullet point, and then finish with a closing to the email. There's no need for long planning. Just focus on clear ideas, a logical flow, and the right tone. After writing, you'll use your last minute to proofread to fix any gaps in content or grammar errors that you notice. To sum up, the write an email task is about practical communication. You'll read a short scenario and write a brief response that hits all 3 points in the instructions. Aim for about 100 to 120 words, keep your tone appropriate, and organize your ideas clearly. With 7 minutes, you have just enough time to read, write, and check your work. And remember, you're not being judged on fancy words or perfect grammar. You're being scored on whether your email gets the job done in English.